Does your garage floor look like this, but you want it to look like this? Well, with a few simple steps and Magic Resin's garage floor system, you can take your garage floor from dusty and cracked to sleek and durable, and built to last. Here's exactly how I did it and how you can do it too. First step, prep. This is where most people cut corners, but it's the most important. I started by removing any old flooring and cleaned up with a power brush and a blower. Due to heavy salt pitting and mild cracks, I needed to patch the floor to even out all the damage and fill the cracks. Chalk the edges of the floor and base where the epoxy could potentially seep out into the abyss of the wall. This step is key to make sure you'll continue to have the correct amount of epoxy for the job. Once the cracks were sealed, I fired up the grinder. The goal here is to open up the concrete so the epoxy can soak in and bond properly. I used a vac connected to a grinder with a dust shroud to keep the dust and cleanup to a minimum. Trust me, this step makes or breaks your finish. I already had the specific concrete grinder and vacuum setup on hand for this job. But you can rent these tools from your local big box store, and remember to wear the proper PPE when working with concrete dust. After the floor is ground down, it is time for the fun part, the epoxy. This system is a two-part system with the A and B mixture accompanied with a gray colorant pigment. I mixed the two-part epoxy with the epoxy resin mixer, a drill, and clean mixing pails to make sure there are no contaminants in the mix. Along with these tools, you will want to grab a floor squeegee, paintbrush, painting frame, painting pole, and painting sleeves. I mixed the two-part epoxy according to the detailed instructions that came with the kit. I would suggest doing this step with two people, as it can be tricky to pour and mix the products together correctly with one person. Once mixed, I poured it out in sections, working with a squeegee and back rolling for that perfect coverage, while it was still wet and wearing the spike shoes that you'll need to purchase because you can't do the step without them. I grabbed the domino flakes and put them in a bucket, and then proceeded to throw the flakes everywhere. When throwing the flakes onto the floor, it's best to throw them at a bit of a distance from the floor, to allow the flakes to spread more consistently and evenly over top. I made sure it was covered to rejection, meaning I fully covered every inch so there were no thin spots or patchy areas. On the walls and baseboard of the garage, the flakes have no issues grabbing a hold by just whipping it onto it. After the base cured, according to the instructions, I blew off any loose flakes with a leaf blower, and here you can see how much I managed to pick up, so don't be shy spraying the flakes in the previous step. I vacuumed the surface and cleaned once more before applying the top coat. This step gives you a smoother, more professional finish and makes sure that the top coat goes down evenly. And finally, the top coat. I use Magic Resin's Polyaspartic top coat. It's UV resistant, chemical resistant, and cures fast. It goes on like glass and locks everything in. Be sure to read and follow the instructions as it is crucial for a successful finish. I used a new and separate mixer for this process, as well as new clean pails for every batch of this mix you need to mix up. Without doing this, you will have inconsistencies in your mixture, which could lead to a tacky top coat, and then you would need to grind it all off and redo the whole process. I applied the top coat with the same method as the base coat, ensuring a beautiful finish. This Magic Resin system turned my garage into a clean, sealed, and pro-looking space that'll hold up for years. If you're thinking about doing yours, don't skip steps.